welcome back to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast. We had a little bit of a hiatus, we changed the name, but I have reverted back to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast because, I think everything's just as important, not just sponsorship when it comes to athlete development. Team, today we have got an excellent episode. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking to some drivers that are currently competing here in Australia as well as overseas. In today's episode, however, I'm thrilled to have a special guest, Imogen Radburn. Imogen opens up about her fascinating journey in motorsports, from her early reservations about competing in female-only categories to now her current ambition within the F1 Academy. She's a passionate advocate for gender equality in racing and is actively involved in initiatives like Girls on Track to empower more women in the sport. We'll hear about her challenges she's faced transitioning from karts to Formula racing, her strategic approach to securing long-time sponsorships, and the invaluable mentorship she has from Cameron Hill. In this episode, Imogen also recounts some of her most rewarding career moments, her intense commitment to training and securing sponsorship, and the personal sacrifices made along the way. From organising community events to managing a dynamic social media presence, Imogen's story is a testament to resilience and passion. Team, get ready to be inspired by Imogen's journey, her tips for inspiring racers, and her vision for the future, possibly in the F1 Academy. Tune in as we uncover the complexity of building a successful career in motorsport with Imogen on the Motorsport Coaching Podcast. Hello, Imogen, and welcome to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast.
Hello.
Well, I'm excited to have you finally on the show. We've been trying to get our diaries aligned for a long time, but I reckon it's fair to say currently in Australia, the highest ranked female motorsport athlete out there. How did you get started in the world of motorsport?
So I started pretty late. I started karting at the age of 14, so I was fairly behind the benchmark in age and compared to experience with the boys and whatnot. But in saying that, I had a really good team behind me that pushed me along, and I was with DR Karts Australia for 2 years, managed to win some state titles with them, multiple championships, multiple fastest laps. I think we had 67 fastest laps in less than a year. Basically racing all the time.
Yeah.
And then I was at my third state title that I was about to win, and I got taken out with 3 laps to go after starting last because I did a motor in the pre-final. And Cameron Hill, who races with Matt Stone Racing at the moment in supercars, he was there watching. I didn't know who he was. I actually had Matt McLean helping me a little bit just from go-karting connections. And then Cam rang Dad the next day and said, look, I'd want your daughter to have a go in a Formula Ford. And I didn't know what Formula Ford was. I thought Cameron Hill was a scam. I didn't know who he was. I'd seen Hill in the Porsche Carrera Cup here and there, but I'd never put 2 and 2 together. And I wasn't really invested in car racing at that time. I was sort of just supercars. I wasn't really looking at the sport categories. And then Dad took the phone call from Cam, and we had a little chat, and I said, Dad, I'm not ready for it. All these boys that are stepping into cars have been doing karting since I was 5 or 6. This is a joke. And I sort of just was like, you know what? I've been given the opportunity. I may as well take it. And I did a first day at Wakefield Park with Cameron Hill, and Tommy Sargent was there, my previous teammate who's now in America, and he's just gotten home from America. So I did a day with Cam there, and I absolutely fell in love with the car. On the back of my helmet, I've got a brown snake, which is what I ran over on my first day in the Formula Ford. But then, I've just finished my second year of Formula Ford with Cam this year. I had my last ever race in it 2 weekends ago, and we managed to pole it, and third overall, third in the championship. Really good to end on. I'd never poled it. I've never started on the front row in the Formula Fords until 2 weeks ago. So it was really cool to finish that way. That sort of all went from karting to Formula Ford to now doing F4, and just done some testing with the team, Roden, for F1 Academy for 2026, 2027, and maybe a possible wild card for next year. But obviously that all doesn't happen without the people that support me on the journey, which Cameron Hill has been a major mentor for me, and he's sort of been my backbone to lean on, whether I'm in tears because I can't find the right amount of money or my weekend hasn't gone the way it needs to go. I know that Cam's always there, and he's played a massive role. And even though I'm stepping into Formula 4 and going on that Formula Academy journey, he's still calling me every day to make sure that I'm getting certain things done and making sure I'm getting a helmet finalised for next year, and sort of just bouncing off one another. Because the level that I'm going to be stepping up to, it is a big league, and I've got a big team that's supporting me behind me. So he sort of wants to make sure everything goes well. And yeah, now we're sort of at the academy level now, which I didn't think I'd be the first Aussie to, I guess, be in the academy or have a go in the academy or do some testing with an academy team. But here we are, and it's sort of all taken off very, very quickly. I went to New Zealand 3 weeks ago. I did a week in New Zealand with Roden and absolutely loved it, and everything went well, and they brought a car from Europe for me, and it was just unreal, something that you can't explain to people how you felt. And the cars I got to drive, like there was multiple cars there that were worth more than a lot of people's houses. So being able to drive them was pretty surreal, and just the people you're around, the network that I made. And then David Dicker then telling me, look, we booked your flight to the UK tomorrow. Basically be ready to jump on a plane at 4 a.m. And I was getting home from New Zealand that night. He told me the Friday morning. We flew home the Friday night, and I flew out the Sunday morning at 4 a.m. So I had 24 hours to try and prepare myself to go and try and test for an academy team and see if I could get a seat, as sort of where it went, or making that connection with the team. And yeah, it all went really well. It was -3 degrees, so it was freezing. It was conditions I'd never driven in Australia. It's nothing. People go, it's a bit like just driving in the wet, but it's nothing alike. Like, it took 7 laps to get the tyres to 30 degrees, like at least an ideal temperature to at least drive around on and not come off. But like, it was just surreal. Like, the black ice was everywhere. I was driving at Alton Park, so it's a classic UK track that has so many characteristics that it's known for, all the bumps and the blind corners and the big hairpins and the chicanes. It was just a perfect way to get thrown in the deep end of welcome to the UK. This is what the racing's like over here at -3 degrees. And it sort of made me realise that, yeah, look, I may have not been ready for the Formula Ford thing, but I wouldn't say doing 3 F4 races in Australia is putting me ready in for F1 Academy. But I just have had to go with the mindset of it's the exact same as a Formula Ford opportunity. If I don't take it now, it won't come around again. And I guess that's the sort of way that I've sort of based my career off where I've gotten to so far, is just like taking every opportunity I can and trying to prepare myself as much as I can to know that when the F4 stuff come up, say 3 months ago, I've only been in F4 for about 3 months. When the F4 stuff come up, I said to Cameron, like, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think I'm ready? Like, I've never driven these cars on the sim, nothing. I got a phone call the night before the race because I needed another driver and they wanted a female. And Adam got said, oh, look, we'll take you. Just show up, like, tomorrow, get on a plane tonight and be there. And I was like, Adam, and he goes, I don't care. You better drive to Sydney now. So then I was on the plane at 8 p.m. that night, dropped my car off at Jadno Jetters and got the whole tribe sort of around me to try and get me to the airport in time and get sorted. And yeah, I've sort of just had to base my whole career off that mentality of you're never going to be 100% ready, but if you can at least be sort of prepared, whether that's fitness and training wise, it's definitely going to help you more. So that's sort of my career so far.
Wow. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Lots to pack from there. So obviously having Cameron Hill as a mentor is not a bad thing. It's such a fantastic opportunity. Obviously he's gone through the ranks, coming from karting, now going through Porsche, now being supercars, also being a team owner as well. So being very, very lucky, like you said, to have Cam. He's a fantastic mentor and he knows what it takes to get there. And he definitely has worked hard behind the scenes. So I did some work when he was in the Porsche Michelin Junior program around his sponsorship and the social media. So he definitely knows what it takes to get to the top of the supercar. So well done with that partnership. With Roden, how did that phone call even happen? Like, I know lots of drivers, like, dream to go there? Like, did they call you? Did you call them? How did that opportunity arise?
So that connection, I wouldn't say I made that connection. That was just a contact that I knew that I work with at Driving Solutions. He's best friends with David Dicker. He's helped a lot of drivers come through the ranks with Roden, like Alex Ninovich, to say.
I'm on the podcast too, so Tom Sargent coming to.
So that sort of is how the connection started. Look, Mark and I were talking about it months ago at work, and I didn't really know about the Formula One Academy, and I didn't really understand it all because I was a bit like, I used to have the mentality of I don't want to just versus girls. Like, that's not me. And yeah, I'd love it if there was more categories that it wasn't so just male-based and whatever. But saying karting, I was never one to go to a pink plate event. Dad said to me, look, if you need to go and do pink plate. And I said, I'm not doing it. I said, I'm not driving a go-kart versus 3 other girls because there's only 3 others in your class. I said, it's not worth it. And he said, oh, okay, whatever. So we didn't go and do pink plate. And I said to Dad, I love that. I feel that motorsport isn't like your footy base where it's a contact sport where the guys are 10 times bigger than the girls. And, of course, the girls aren't going to be able to hold themselves up against them, where I find that motorsport is once a helmet goes on, no one knows if you're a girl or a guy. I always always, and I laugh so much at it. They're always like, oh, thanks, mate. Like, you did really well. And they call me a guy. And then I put my visor up and they see, like, my eyebrows done and mascara's on. They're like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, no, that's what I want. Like, my car is bright green. It's not bright pink. My helmet isn't pink. My helmet's all different colours. And the only way that people would know that I'm a female is because of the Sisters at Race that's on my side of my car. But it's minimal, like it's tiny. But then the F1 Academy, I feel like, has changed that for a lot of us. Like, I never would have thought I'd be looking at a category that's just full of females. However, the opportunities that they've helped females come into, and the Girls on Track is another one that I'm heavily involved in. And I guess working with those girls that don't have the opportunities or they don't have the confidence to go out and make those opportunities sort of made me realize, okay, like, if I can do this and help others get an opportunity or start a career, like, that's more beneficial for me than just going, oh, yeah, I just versus girls, like, or, yeah, I beat the boys. Like, I've never been one to go, oh, I beat the boys, like, good on me. I don't really care. We're all competitors. But I guess growing up in karting only 4 years ago, I did see a lot of the negative aspect of the female bit, but of, like, the boys getting beaten by the girls and the dad saying something. But in saying that, like, when I got to Roden, it was just like I was at home. Like, it just felt so didn't feel like I didn't ever feel like I was under the pump of pressure or none of that. And Mark helped me with that. And back to, like, how I made the connection with Mark was just I said to Mark, look, I don't know if I'm keen on the formula side. Like, I've always wanted to do supercars. And he goes, you can always come back and do supercars, but you're going to go further in your career if you follow the formula side. Like, better drivers are a lot of them from formula sides. Like, you look at Tom Randall and James Courtney, to name a few. A lot of them have done F4 and further up, same as Will Brown. Like, he did F4 and won the F4 championship. A lot of them, basically that whole supercars field has done Formula Ford. And it sort of just, like, raised the point of, yeah, like, it's a girls category, but you can benefit a lot from working with other females as well. Like, you don't just have to be working with the boys. And a lot of the teams are still male dominated, which is awesome because it feels like normal. It doesn't feel like something totally different. And yeah, when I got to Roden, there was a lot of female girls that were working there, and it was really cool to see because I was like, now I can take this back to Girls on Track and tell the participants that I now help and mentor that, yeah, like, it's the exact same when you're in the big leagues. Like, use Australia as your starting ground and then work your way up. Don't think that you're going to go straight into the F1 teams and know what to do. Like, it sort of is, it's the exact same. It's just on another level. but yeah, that's sort of how the connection started with Roden, and then it all sort of took off, and I got along with the team really well. And then before I knew it, I was in the UK.
Wow.
And now,
When opportunity knocks, Imi comes running.
yeah. And that was the thing. I said to Mark, actually, when we were in New Zealand, I said to him, like, what if it doesn't go well? Like, I haven't been on the sim at this track. I've driven the F4 4 times, and now you're going to put me in front of an F1 Academy team and go drive your ass off and don't crash and don't come off and just make sure everything goes right. But you need to give it your all. And he goes, look, like, just do the exact same we've done at New Zealand. The biggest rule was don't drive on the grass. Like, David loves his grass, which presentation over there is next level, and you just don't drive on the grass. So I just sort of went in with the same mentality of, like, just do what you've done over here. You've done it fine. And yeah, it all sort of played out. And then I got there and it was raining and it was -3 and we didn't put one slick tire on. And I'd never driven the F4 in the wet, let alone on wets. But yeah, it all went really well. And it's just, yeah, another opportunity that I get to share so many stories with now.
Yeah. And is there opportunity, like you said, just to do a wild card next year, or to go back and do a UK kind of series in 2025, or you're just trying to work all that out now?
Yeah, it's sort of all being worked out now. I'd love to be able to go, yep, I'm going to be the first Academy wild card for Australia, but obviously a lot of politics come involved, and you are working directly with the FIA and F1 Academy to get that. It's not like, it's really hard to explain because it's not like you get Australian teams where you pay the money and you're in. Like, you can't just go up to a Super 2 team and go, oh, here's the money, take me now, my super license is this, I'm all sweet to go, or an 86 team. It's nothing like that. It's like there's so much involved to getting these girls their seats. And I didn't realise that because I was like, come on, like, I've done the testing. I should be right now. And I've had that reality check the past few days that it's not that easy. So, yeah, I'd love to be able to come on here and go, yep, I'm the first Academy team driver from Australia doing a wild card or doing a full season, but I don't think I'll know that until later on next year and until it's fully finalised with teams, with contracts, blah, blah, blah. But I think I can happily say that I will be in a very high short list of drivers. Obviously, the first Aussie on their short list of maybe a wildcard seat or a full season in 2026. I wouldn't say 2025 because the grid is pretty full now. They've sort of decided already, which perfectly fine for me. Gives me more time to drive an F4 and get my head around yeah, rather than driving it 3 times and doing a week testing. Yeah, it actually gives me more time to prepare rather than just going, oh, okay, now you're in the F1 league, like, enjoy.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I think whatever happens, that happens for a reason. And yeah, hopefully within the next 2 years we'll be there, whether it's a wild card or full season.
I mean, you've like so much. We've had so much happen, I should say. What has been the most rewarding moment of your career, you think, so far?
I'd say the most rewarding bit of my career, like, is just seeing the growth from, like, my family's perspective of it all. Like, Mum and I and Dad and my sister are all pretty close. And, like, from going from karting for 2 years and we were spending every weekend, we had a big, massive trailer that was 10 meters long and it was the whole shazam because Dad wanted to live in this trailer, basically. I guess seeing that, and we're always a camping family, so we're always away, but I guess seeing the growth from the family, like, we are so tight now. And even when I'm overseas, which I never thought I'd be flying to the other side of the world on my own. Like, I always thought I'd be going with Mum and Dad or Addie would come with me, which there was a few tears shed before I left because I was like, this feels so weird going on my own.
You have a passport? Obviously, you had a passport because you just went to New Zealand. Sorry, I was like...
Yeah. Yeah, I guess just seeing the family growth from that, like, it's just a whole nother level, like, our connection all together. And me being overseas, yeah, it's difficult on all of us and it's really difficult on my little sister, but, like, she's now finished school and she's like, can I come with you next year if you're overseas? I'm like, yes. I never would have thought we'd be in that situation where, yeah, we could make family trips for racing overseas rather than just going to your local club day down the road. So I guess that's been my biggest thing. And then like seeing the connections I've made with my partnerships grow. Like I've had Lloyd's Auction sponsor me for 4.5 years now, like since the start. And yeah, I just guess seeing those personal connections that you didn't think would be as big as and as important as they are now, like it sort of is your backbone. And coming home from the UK was like, this could be a new normality of not being home as much. But yeah, I guess that's been my biggest highlight at the moment.
So you just mentioned some sponsors there, Lloyd, that have been with you for the first time. Again, obviously, it's been a very short journey, and no doubt a lot, of course, you said New Zealand, and even though you've had some help along the way with people buying those flights and things, but how have you gone about securing sponsorship, like through karting and now stepping up into the different categories?
Through karting, I found it very easy. You're asking for minimal money. You think it's a lot then, but it's really not. Like karting, I found it very easy, and I guess I'm just glad that in karting it was me doing the work, not Dad doing it for me. So I'd found all my karting sponsorships basically through people that Dad knew or whatever, but I had to make the initial connection of having that meeting. And we always have had sponsorship proposals, but in saying that, like now, I'd say it's very difficult to find the money I'm after. Like I'm after at least $500,000 or plus, like to allow me to have more opportunities coming up that I can actually go, yeah, I can do that. I've got the funding behind me. I've saved this percentage of my sponsorship for this year just in case this come up. But yeah, I guess nowadays it's my full-time job. Once I left school, I sort of said to Dad, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do uni. I'm going to go be a primary teacher. I'm going to have something else to fall back on if racing doesn't go well. And then I did 2 months of uni, and I rang Cameron Hill and I said, I don't think I can do this, hey. And he goes, no, I could have told you this from the start. But anyway, I'll let you make the decision yourself. And yeah, I had to drop out of uni, and I'm glad I did because I wasn't putting my all into uni. Like I was just passing the assessments, which I knew I could have done 10 times better, and I was doing it online so I could do it when I was racing, and it was just way too chaotic for what I'm doing. But I guess my thing these days is I've always got my to-do list that I do every day, and then I sort of make a list of like people that I can contact for that day. So it's very full on, and people don't realize it. And I say to the girls at Girls on Track all the time, like, if you want to be a driver in motorsport, it's not $100 like a footy pair of shoes are. Like, it's looking for that next level. Like, I'm now looking at getting my first helmet done with sponsor logos on it. I never would have thought I'd be doing that. But it's making the money off that as well now, like trying to figure out, okay, like what spots are going to be what price, what's reasonable. Because if I do go into this F1 Academy scene, I may not have the leverage of the whole car being mine. Like a lot of it works out that a lot of the academy and that they do have say on what sponsors, blah, blah, blah. Like it's very like, it's so hard to explain because I could be told, yeah, you're the wild card, but no, you don't actually have right to the car of sponsorship. That's just how it is in big teams, and it's the same with supercars. Like you don't always get how you want it, like you would in a privateer team. Like with me with CHE, I sort of get the car how I want it, and we took it home, we painted it, did all that. But even F4 in Australia, like I run the AGI colours. That's not my green. That's not my colours anymore. It's sort of adapting that brand and allowing your sponsors to understand like that's the way of moving forward, going to the higher levels. It's just, yeah, I guess being able to sell yourself and like that's a major thing. Like I used to, and Cameron Hill killed me for it. I'd get a phone call off him every day to see how many phone calls I'd sent, not just emails, because he goes, these days, you kids just want to send emails. The people you're talking to aren't your age. They don't want to text off you, or they don't want an email going, hey, can you sponsor me because this is why. He goes, they want to hear your voice. They want to see you face to face. They want to actually have a meeting with you. They're not just going to give you 5 or 10 grand because, oh, you asked for it. Like, he goes, it's not a bank asking for a loan. Like, and I hated making phone calls. I guess at the start of the year, I was a bit like, no, this is like pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I had 3 phone calls for 3 hours each. So now I just don't stop talking on the phone, and it's helped me a lot, especially with doing those Girls on Track programs, which I am heavily involved in. That now I can speak to people and it's no big drama, and you don't get nervous doing even these things. Like, I know a lot of people sometimes are like trying to overthink everything, where sort of just run on the spot, and that whole form of sponsorship has helped me excel so much in that stuff compared to like at school or whatever. So yeah, it's very chaotic and it's not as easy as everyone thinks. And you said to me a few years, Belinda, like, this will be a full-time job, and I was like, no, it won't. Like, I'll find the cash.
That was going to be my next question. I just asked it on a previous podcast. So obviously 2 parts here. So when you started racing 4 years ago, did you think that it was so much more behind the scenes than it is like just to be a motorsport competitor? And number 2, how many hours a week do you spend on off-track development?
You know, it's funny because Cameron came to my house when we first started Formula Ford, and I'd say it was when I was 16, because I wasn't like as serious as I should have been for the money we were spending. And Cam came over at the end of the year when I was 16 and said, look, this is how many hours you're going to dedicate to XYZ, whether that be social media, sim time, your sponsorship time, your gym time. And all these hours I thought were blown out of the park. Like, I was like, I'm not spending 12 hours on that simulator. Like, that's a joke. And I hated the sim. And I still to this day, like, it still is a thing that I'd much rather go to the gym for 6 hours and train like that way than jump on a sim. But I've never been a kid that grew up with video games or stuff like that. Like, I've never been one to be on like Xboxes and that. Like, I wouldn't even know how to use controller. So I guess the sim I found pretty difficult to get my head around, but once I made it more realistic, I was like, okay, it's actually working. And now I go up to Focus in Sydney and do 6-hour sessions with Ollie, and it's like a walk in the park. It's like, okay, yeah, this is like normal. But I would say, like, I didn't think there was that much involved behind the scenes at all. Like, especially karting, you look at all these drivers and you go, oh, they're living the dream. Like, they must have such the high life. Like, you do see certain drivers that they do have the high life of being able to go get your morning coffee, going for a run, doing this, doing that. And you're like, but they're not even working. And if people say that about me, they're like, you don't even work anymore. And I'm like, well, I do. It's just a bit different. And yeah, me posting that stuff on Instagram, it's my day-to-day life. It's what I'm doing. Like, it's just how it is. And there's days, my sister, it's hilarious. She goes to my parents the other day, I want a job like Emmy's. And they're like, what do you mean by that? She goes, I want a flexible job. Like, when I want to work, I can work. When I want to have some time off, I can have time off. And Dad goes, you do realize your sister's job isn't like a flexible job. Like, she works at Driving Solutions a lot, and when she gets those shifts, she has to be there. And I was away from home one stage for 3 months because I was run. Basically, I did 3 weeks in Queensland, then I did a week somewhere else, and we went to Townsville, and it was just chaos. And I was racing in between that too, and then doing this stuff as well. And Dad just said to her, like, it doesn't work like that. And this is what some people think is, oh, these drivers have got such a high life. Like, I don't know why they're complaining. I don't know why they're looking for money. Like, they're literally just living people's dreams of a retired life. Like, and I guess that was the thing that I had with Cam was at the start of this year, I was sort of in that stage of, do I go to uni and do uni properly and go down the primary teaching way and just sort of keep this as a sport and hobby? And then he sort of said to me, do you want this as your career? And I said, well, obviously, like, that's why I'm doing it. And he goes, no, like, do you want this as your proper career? And I was like, I don't know, like, sure. And he goes, okay, well, if you want it as your proper career, you won't be able to do uni, you won't be able to do this, you won't be able to do that. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's basically like half of my life just cut out because I can't go and see friends, or I can't go away on these holiday trips. Mum and Dad have booked Bali for one of our friends' birthdays next year. I don't even know if I'm able to go yet. Like, but that's just some of the sacrifices that I've had to make. And yeah, I would say now, like, I train at least once or twice a day, whether that's a 3 to 5K run in the morning, and then I always go to the gym basically every day or 6 times a week, because I do have a gym that sponsors me, which is Very Gym, and I get trained by Matt, the owner, basically 5 times out of 7 in the week. And that's just having that connection with him so well, and he supports me so much that I'm able to go into the gym and be able to be motivated and helped through that connection. People go, oh, but it's not really money. I said, yeah, but it's time and his money that he's spending on me, that it's not a cash in hand, here's 50 grand. Like, it's actually a benefit that I take very seriously in that way. And then I'd say sponsorship, like, I just spend 8 to 9 hours a day on it. Like, and it's so draining. There is days where I wake up and go, I don't really want to call these people. And then you sort of get into the rhythm of it and you're like, oh, okay, like, we've ticked off a lot today.
Once a day, it's okay.
Yeah, having those to-do lists, like, I just went to Kmart and got like one of these books. It's so simple, but it's able to have a schedule, and I'm able to send it to Mum and Dad and be like, okay, this is what I've gotten done today, because they like to know what's going on, and to make sure that I'm not just living this high life like people think. But yeah, that's a main thing. And then social media is another big thing. I didn't think I'd be posting as much as I do on social media, and I'm lucky to have the donut shop support me in that way, that the people that do the social media and the donut shops help me do mine, and it's sort of, that's how the sponsorship comes involved with them. So it's just finding these niche little markets that I need help with more to help my weaknesses, so that those little things do help. And the social media growth has been so much better this year and last year, since having Chloe around and having her to bounce ideas off, and I guess going out of my comfort zone. And I'm meant to start doing reels, like day-to-day life reels, but that's very out of my comfort zone. But it's something that you have to do. And
I know, I do it too, but I have to do it. But that's why I just keep talking head, because I'm not getting excited. I'm like, I've just got a message and this is it.
Yeah, and it's just how it is. And yeah, I guess people don't really realize that, and that's why I guess having these meaningful conversations of what we actually do is so important. And sort of, I explain that all the time at Girls on Track when I'm up on stage doing my quick interviews and Q&As, and the girls are like, oh, like, your life looks so easy. And I'm like, it's not. Like, I've flown down here, I've missed a family event, I nearly had to miss my poor sister's formal, and I think I would have been shot if I did. But I was meant to be at Adelaide Supercars doing stuff there, but I had to make that sacrifice, which I'd never had to make, the family sacrifice of not going to a race because of it. But it's those little things that you've just got to do, and making those right decisions.
Yes, so it's very hard work. Is this moral of the story? It's not just that simple of getting sponsorship and being on the track. There's all of these other wheels in motion that all have to align in order for you to achieve that goal.
Definitely.
And so when it comes to the sponsorship, obviously we've just spoken about some of the struggles that you endure. And I guess you spoke earlier in the interview about not wanting to be a female within motorsport, which I totally agree. Have you found there has been any advantage or disadvantages about trying to promote, or are you trying to promote yourself to be a woman in motorsport, especially knowing that the F1 Academy is what it is?
I guess Australia motorsport for us girls has had sort of a kick in the gut from people that haven't helped my situation. Like, Harvey Norman now sponsors me. That took me 5 years because of that one kick in the gut. And it wasn't from what I did. It was from someone else in motorsport that had done it. And making that sort of effect on us girls, I found it very difficult. And then another thing got brought out, and it was another kick in the guts. And everyone's like, are you going to be the next her? And I'm like, no, don't even classify me anything near that, because I'm not like that. And you know what? From this happening and having certain sponsors, I've had to sign things saying that I wouldn't do that. And I don't think that we should have to do that. But that, I guess, is a disadvantage that we've had thrown on us as a younger generation. I wasn't even thinking of motorsport when that all happened and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I find it pretty difficult that way. And I've had certain people in motorsport that have told me, whether they're girls or guys, that, oh, look, Em, I don't think it's worth doing it. Like, you've seen the other girls, how it's helped or happened to them. Like, why are you doing it to yourself? And I guess I've sort of made myself be that role model that doesn't do that to the younger ones coming up, and even the ones that are my age or older that are at Girls on Track, is making sure that I'm not the one saying that to them, because it got said to me at an event, and I was pretty like kicked in the guts from it, because I was like, I sort of looked up to you and you've just said that to me. And it did sort of affect me, but I'd spoken to a few people about it going like, this has just been said. And I just made sure that I was never that person, and I've sort of made my life pretty open. Like, everything I do is on social media. My LinkedIn's always open. I get daily phone calls and that I've met girls from Girls on Track. They call me up and they say, oh, have you got any opportunities for media stuff that we can come help you with at events? And I've got 4 girls at the moment that I'm trying to get involved with other females that I know around the track and see if they can go to work experience with them, or using my connection with MSR and getting them to work with Slade, who's one of my best friends from MSR. But yeah, I think there's a lot of negatives that us girls can have faced, and a lot of the boys go, oh, but sponsors love you, like you're a female. And I'm like, yeah, but they also don't. A lot go, no, we don't want to do that because this person's done this. So I guess it's sort of using your target market and knowing right from wrong. And I say it every single Girls on Track event, and it's just the simple things of not posting that one bikini photo in summer that can ruin your whole career. Like, I know if I posted that, I'd lose about 4 sponsors easily just from that one single photo.
Yeah.
Where I'd rather post me in training gear, training that isn't like a bikini. It could be as simple as a sports bra and shorts or whatever, but it sort of isn't taking that wrong effect that some other people have. But yeah, it's just making sure that, I guess, us females coming up, and it shouldn't have to be this way, but it is, and that's just the way it is. Of just making sure that you don't post the wrong thing, you don't send the wrong message, you don't say the wrong thing to the wrong person. But yeah, and I've had a few girls come up to me and go, oh, thanks for telling us that. Like, I've just taken that down because of that. But it's always going to be on the internet, as much. Everyone says it from when you're little. But yeah, I guess that's some disadvantages. But the advantages are, like, you do get to raise an awareness. You do get to be one of not many. Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many girls there are racing in Australia in cars at the moment. Especially me being the only one in Formula cars at the moment in Australia throughout any category. I guess it's pretty cool doing that, and there is a lot of positives, and you do, I guess the media does like you a bit because, yeah, you're such a niche market. But in saying that, the boys have to work just as hard because there's thousands of them compared to maybe 4 of us girls in Australia. But I sort of do give it the boys the credit that a lot of them, the ones that are making it at the moment with sponsorship and that, they've done an incredible job. And like, I've got a few mates like Cam Crick and Cam Hill, for instance, like, they're one of thousands and they've done an incredible job. And I sort of lean off them, and we all sort of work together to seeing how we can sort of all support each other and work everyone's partnerships in together. And simply being involved so heavily with MSR, I've met a lot of the boys' sponsors, and you sort of just make those connections. And now I've got, like, one of our friends, sports managers or whatever you want to say, trying to help me as well with the F1 Academy stuff. So yeah, I think it's just how you look at it and how you take it all in, I think, is the main thing.
Yeah, again, you've given us so much advice. So I really thank you, Emmy. But what what advice would you offer to aspiring racers who are just beginning to explore sponsorship opportunities? So maybe they're just in karts, maybe they're thinking about going to Formula Ford, or they're thinking now just going to club level to AKC. What kind of advice are you about getting started with sponsorship?
Yeah, I just say surround yourself with the right people. You're going to learn the most off the right people around you. Like my go-kart coach, Paul, from DR Karts, well, now he's Elite Driver Academy. I learned a lot from him, and he sort of stood me in the right direction, and then I met Cameron, and none of this would have happened if I didn't have the right people behind me. Like, your parents play a big key role in it, and you sort of think, oh, for God's sake, like, stop being in my ear. And I always say to mum and dad, like, just give me 5 minutes on my own. Like, I don't need to hear it. But you always do come back to that major support network. And I guess just sort of believing in yourself and putting yourself out there, like, it can be so scary. And I hate sometimes going into some businesses and having to go, oh, can you help to fund my, like, career I'm heading overseas, blah, blah. But I guess just sort of making that positive first, I don't know what you say, like, first impression. It always helps, and just being that bubbly person yourself and making yourself look presentable. And another one that I've sort of had to face is, and I don't even realize I'm doing it, but smiling more. Like, I do smile a lot, but sometimes I may be so concentrated that it looks like I'm so angry and like I'm not able to be confronted, but it's actually the opposite. And even sometimes when I'm doing speeches, like, I'll have mum or dad or James from Driving Solutions at the back, and they'll just give me a look, and I'm like, I didn't even realize. But it's just those little things that you've got to change yourself to be able to do better for your career. And whether you're just starting out at club level or whatever, it's all so important. And as I said, like, Lloyd's Auctions, they've sponsored me from the get-go, and they knew me before racing. I only met them at Bathurst 1000, and they let me sit in the Peter Brock VK, and that's how it all started. And I said to them, oh, can I have your business card, and I'll contact you when I start racing. And I contacted them about 6 months later, and then they said, yeah, we'll sponsor you for sure. And it was all because I asked for that business card. So, like, even if you're at events or you see people at stores, or even if you have, like, a local community, say it now. It's a perfect time, like Christmas and that New Year's period. There's a lot of community events going on. Like, go and approach those people that are around you in your local area and get them to support you first, because once you have their support, you're going to have a lot more support in your area. Like, now I'm doing car shows and I'm organising auction nights and a big community event, whether that's a demolition derby or we're talking about postman bike racing at the local motorbike track. And it's just those little things that people are going to remember. And if you have those local people or businesses supporting you, you're going to find it 10 times easier. Like, I organised a car show last year and it went off. It was absolutely crazy and I loved it. And I simply went to, I'd say, 20 businesses in the local area that I hadn't had a personal connection with previously, or they didn't sponsor me or whatever, but they knew my name. Being in the local paper so much and contacting those local papers and Win News and stuff like that that's around you, that people go, oh, but no one reads that anymore. Well, the people with money and the people that will support you do. You're not going to have a 15-year-old that's going to pay for your racing that doesn't read the paper. So, I think just look at the ones that are actually around you. Don't try and go for the big brands first. Go for the smaller ones and build your way up. And you never know, the smaller ones could be your biggest supporters. In the meanwhile, like, I have a local radio station that I go on to their radio station every time I've got a big thing going on, or I'm coming up to a race, or I've got to advertise something, and they don't charge me for it. They don't pay me money. None of that. And I dropped them off a little frame this morning. I did these Lego frames for my sponsors this year, just as something different, so it's not just a box of chocolates and something else. And they were absolutely in love with it. And we got a photo and they're going to hang it up, and everyone that walks into that radio station now is going to see my branding and me with a race car and my signature and a thank you message with a Lego car with my race number on it. And that, who knows who could contact me from that. That's got my Instagram hashtag and my Instagram name at the bottom so they can look me up. And it's just knowing those little things that I probably wouldn't have known 4 years ago, but I've learned along the way being around the right people.
Sorry, my cough there. So Emmy spoke about like social media as well, and how, like, I guess how you get your content through your sponsors as well. What platforms are you currently on?
I'm currently on Instagram mainly. I got a Facebook page as well, and a lot of people go, I don't know where you're on Facebook. Well, a lot of people still follow on Facebook.
Facebook's one platform.
Yeah. And I'm a bit on TikTok. I don't really use it to my advantage like I should, but that's a next year goal to start up, just because there are a lot of females that look up to other females on TikTok, and I do follow a lot of the academy drivers and girls that are racing overseas on TikTok because they're doing daily videos and stuff like that. So I'd say my Instagram's my main one, and Facebook, but I've also got LinkedIn that I use all the time for my sponsorship stuff.
And what's your handle?
It's imogen.radburn29. Nice and simple. First name, last name, and race number. So it's really easy. And people with crazy ones, it doesn't really make sense. So the most easiest one is just your first, last name, and your race number.
Fantastic. And you mentioned that you're going now to progress yourself and go into doing more videos for next year, for 2025, more reels and stuff. And you said, is Chloe a social media?
Yeah, so she owns a business called Kindle and Bloom, and it's just a local one down here. She runs all the social media pages for all our donut shops. She also runs some of the other ones in the local area. She just does a lot of content work. But say for me, for instance, she can't come to every one of my races, and so I send her my photos, and I usually write in my notes how every race has gone, how I'm feeling. I sort of just do a brief diary journal log, and I send that to her at the end of the weekend. I say, hey, can you put something together? She'll send it to me and go, hey, how does this look? Perfect, done. Posted, all sorted. I'm still doing all my stories and that 24/7, but a lot of my posts now, a lot of them have got the green home because that's my sort of thing, and leading up to a race, she'll do the race schedule and stuff like that, just the little things that help that you didn't think you'd need. But it all has helped, and it's sort of taken off, and now I can sort of lean on her if I need other designs done. And I've just had my website redone by another girl that's mum knows personally, and just those little things. Like, I don't really have the time at the moment to try and redo a whole new website again and keep updating it. So using those people around you, which I didn't want people to know that I have someone helping me with my Instagram, but it sort of has helped me a lot grow my followers, and just that daily interaction grow, like, helps everything. Like, I get at least 150,000 interactions throughout my account within 2 weeks. So, like, it's grown a lot. And yeah, the followers may not say that, but there is people look at my Instagram that are very on high levels that you don't realize. And there's people like Susie Wolf and the key people that I need at the moment looking at my stuff, and they all are. So yeah, I guess just presenting yourself well and having those people in your back corner to help you up, and that sort of helps. And another one that no one really knows, and I think a lot of us drivers would do it. I don't know if the boys would. I don't know if it's just a girls thing, but so when I went to New Zealand, when I went to the UK, I did a notes page of how I was feeling and daily diary entries for it in case I wanted to write a book about it later on if it all goes well or something. But I think that's another important thing for people to remember. It's not just the media, but to also write down how you're feeling away on those trips, because I was so overwhelmed with how I felt, and by the third day I'd sort of forgotten how my emotions were getting on that plane on my own and stuff like that, where now, like, I just look back at that whenever I need to, and I'm like, oh, that's how I felt. And you do look at some of the really good drivers like Jamie Whincup and stuff, they've now got books. So yeah, I think it's just another little important thing that not a lot of people would do, but it only takes 2 minutes when you're laying in bed before you go to sleep to do. So you may as well do it. Who knows? You could have your own book or something.
That's right. Even the beautiful thing of the voice memos too, if you're not interacting.
Yeah.
I just kind of, if I'm in the mood, right. If not, just do voice recordings as well.
Yeah, 100%. Doesn't take long, and it's a forever memory that you'll have.
Yeah, so you're definitely growing your own team off the track, which is fantastic. So as you can see, you kind of in your career get to a point where you do need external helpers, like with social media, fitness, sponsorship, mentoring, excuse me, and driver coaching. You've got it all happening. And so congratulations. Well done. So very exciting. One of the questions was, what's plan B? But I think right now there's no plan B, definitely for the next There's no plan B, especially for the next 2 years. But I guess the answer would be, would you go back to primary school teaching?
I think I would later on. Like, it's hard to say. I've always taught swimming for the past 4 years now. I still do a bit of swim teaching, and I love the whole teaching side. But whether that's something I did in motorsport rather than teaching at a school, I don't know. Like, I think I wouldn't be able to step away from motorsport and go, okay, that's it. Like, I love the whole teaching mentor aspect, which is why I love Girls on Track so much, like I do, because I love being able to share my journey, because I always looked up to people that were able to do that. Like, one of my teachers last year at school, his wife was an Olympic hockey player, and she messaged me 2 weeks ago going, hey, would you come to the races with me and be a part of like our champions team? And it was like all these people that I've really looked up to all my life. So I guess I think like if it for plan B or later on down the track, I think it'd be some sort of mentor role or having that management or something. I don't know. I think it'd be something along that. But I've always been heavily also involved in my dad's business, and
that's right.
Even when I'm not doing, even if I've got a few hours not doing this stuff, I'm in Dad's work office now at the moment. So I sort of dedicate a day or two a week doing that stuff when I'm home. And then I spend all the rest doing this stuff to sort of break it off a bit. And I've got my own little office upstairs for all my racing stuff in case I lose motivation at home to do it. I can do it at the office up there because you sort of get a bit more motivated there. So, yeah, very full on.
Before we wrap it up, just my two favourite questions. What would you prefer to win, a series championship or the Bathurst 1000?
I knew this was going to be said. I think a series championship shows you consistency, but then like the Bathurst 1000, minimal people win it. But I think I'd want to win Bathurst 1000 and then try and get the series championship in the same year. Like that would be ideal. But yeah, I don't know. Like I guess Bathurst 1000.
Yeah, that's all right. And what's your favourite racetrack, whether it's something that you've seen or driven on before?
Bathurst. In the Formula Ford was awesome at the start of the year. Yeah. 268 Ks we did down Conrod Straight. It doesn't seem too quick, but when you're in a 510 kilo car, it's pretty quick. So yeah, I think Bathurst would be my favourite. Who knows? It could be something else later on, but I think sticking to home, I do love Bathurst, and SMP's been a pretty good track for me recently this year. So yeah, I think Bathurst is the go at the moment.
Fantastic. So for the goals for 2025, we're going to be doing F4 here in Australia and maybe overseas.
Yeah.
You also have got your social media accounts, so the Instagram predominantly or LinkedIn, that people can connect with you if they've got any questions. If they want to support your journey, you also have the Australian Sports Foundation link.
Yeah, I'll sure do. So that's all up there now too. That was a recent thing.
Yeah, so I'll put those links in today's show notes so you can go ahead and follow Amy on her journey to the F1 Academy. Normally I do like wrap up saying who do you like to thank or recognise for your journey so far? But I think we've covered all. We've got Mum and Dad and Matt, James from Driving Solution, the opportunities, and your personal trainer and everyone that's pretty much involved in the process.
Yeah, definitely. Those key people that have been highlighted today, I think, have helped my journey a lot. And, yeah, there's people behind the scenes that I may not have mentioned, but the key ones know exactly who they are.
That's wonderful. And again, you've given us so many tips and inside information, so I do appreciate that. Do you have one last passing piece for up-and-coming motorsport competitors?
I'd say just give it your all and take every opportunity that you get, even if you think you're not ready, because they do turn out pretty good. And, yeah, just stay enjoying it. Make sure you have fun doing it. If you get to the point where you're not enjoying it and having as much fun and you sort of feel like it's too much of a job, well, just reflect and go, okay, maybe I need a day off doing something with friends, or maybe I need a weekend away or something. I think that's also important to remember, not to get too stuck in this is my job, this is how it is, this is my day-to-day life, still having fun with it. And I guess I sort of remind myself when I go out there that I'm doing this for fun. I'm not doing it because I want to be the number one Australian female driver, blah, blah. Like, I've still got to remember that I'm having fun doing it, and not many people are doing what we do, and to enjoy it as much as you can. And, yeah, that's really it, I think.
Fantastic. Well, being a part of your journey for so many years, it's been fantastic to see your growth, and I'm very excited to see what happens in 2025 and beyond. Of course, once you get that call out for the F1 Academy, I want to be one of the first to know. Have you back on, or especially if you get that wild card opportunity next year, and we'll have you back on and you can tell us all about it.
Sounds good.
All right, Amy, well, thank you very much again for your time, and all the very best.
Thank you.